Hey guys, it's Mia here and welcome back to another bookish video. Now today we are going to be talking about the third book in the Missing series, Sabotaged. Now this is the first book in the series that I have not read before, so the nostalgia that was present in the first two books is no longer present with this book, but I will try my best to give this a fair and honest review despite that, because I try not to be biased. So it is in this book that I really started to realize how on the nose these titles were, because Found starts out with the kids being found in a plane, and then they're getting these letters saying someone's coming back to get them because they were found yet again 13 years later. Sent was about the first time they were sent back in time, and this one is heavily full of sabotage, which I will talk about in a minute. So if you remember, in the end of Sent, Jonah and Catherine were told that they would once again have to go back in time with not only one of the other girls that was one of the missing children from history, but a dog. No one is sure why the dog comes into play, and they're all kind of odd about it. And they were told that Chip cannot come, which kind of made me sad in a way, because one of the things that made the first two so enjoyable was to see how Chip and Jonah interacted in the situations and to see their friendship. So I was kind of sad that Chip was not going to be present in this one. So in this one, we start out with Jonah, Catherine, and Angela at the time headquarters being shown different scenarios of what could happen in time, because they have this thing called a production expert that plays all the various scenarios that could happen in history to come up with the correct outcome that could help fix it. So they're being told all the stuff they have to do for Virginia, and JB, who once again is short for Janitor Boy, who we don't know the real name of because he only said it once and it was very complicated, so they just stuck to calling him Janitor Boy. So JB is preparing to help send them off on their next voyage back in time. And so Jonah, Catherine, and Angela are sent back in time to what they assume is 1590 something. So when they get to that time period, something is so wrong. Because I don't know if you remember in my last two reviews when I talked about tracers, but tracers are ghostly, see-through, inanimate, like ghostly figures that show how time was really supposed to go before it was tampered with. And that's what JB is trying to realign everyone with, is their tracer. So when they get to what they assume is 1590, there are tracers everywhere, from tracer branches that should not have been broken to tracer bugs that should have been there but have been killed by something. Everywhere they look, there are glowing tracers all around them. And everyone is so confused because they're like, we haven't done this, we just got here, and there must have been another time traveler here, so what happened? Well, it turns out that Andrea, who they came back in time with, tried to sabotage them by messing up the elucidator, which is a time traveling remote that tells them where they're supposed to go. At first, nobody realizes this, but then they start to wonder why she needed to secure the remote when it was perfectly safe and was not in any risk of falling out of their hands. So they end up coming back in time to the wrong time and the wrong place. So they're like, why did you do that? What did you get out of that? And that's where we find out that Virginia was told by someone by the name of Second that she could have a chance to go and save her adopted family in the 21st century, because as we learn, they have died in a car crash and she feels bad about it. But then Jonah goes, how could you trust him? You're an idiot. No one can live through the same time period they already lived through. Which, again, makes it confusing because technically they're doing that when they try to restore everything because they're putting their tracer back with their other... Time travel is confusing. Don't try to figure it out. Because they say you can't live through time more than once. Maybe 2 versions of yourself in the same spot, but then wouldn't there be a tracer of the past you? See, it's confusing. So Jonah is understandably really mad about this, and he's like, you sabotaged us for something that was never going to happen. You should not have trusted this guy. You don't know him. He must be the one that's leaving all of these tracers behind. And so we find out that Virginia Dare was the first English settler born in America. So that's what makes her so special, was because she was the first born American in America. So they have to not only solve why all of these tracers are appearing and what this second dude wants and why he sent them back to the wrong time, or how they're going to get Virginia to her tracer and figure out where they actually are. But they run into these 2 Indian boy tracers and they're like, well, shouldn't they be there too? Shouldn't they? Where are their people? How many other tracers are we going to find on this journey? What is happening? Is time unraveling? Yada yada. But it all becomes this big adventure. And Virginia, I keep calling her past name because it sticks in my head more than Andrea, I guess. But Virginia is very attached to this old man that they end up meeting. And she's like, I feel like I know him. I love him. I care for him. He's my grandfather. And I'm like, you're not even in your tracer. You haven't even connected with your past self yet. Yet you're willing to risk not only Jonah and Catherine's lives, but all of time just to be with your grandfather again when you're not even in your tracer's body to remember him. And it just started to bug me because there are more than just her grandfather's life at stake. It's all of time. Everyone in existence could disappear because this stubborn little girl wants to be with a grandfather that she doesn't even truly know yet. And it just bugs me to no end because she's constantly trying to push Jonah and Catherine to the side. She's constantly trying to undermine the mission of putting time back in its right position because she doesn't care about anybody but herself, unlike Chip and Alex from book 2. She does not care about time. She wants to be with her grandfather no matter what. She's trying to wake him up to see a her that's dressed in 21st century attire that could really screw with the time stream because obviously that kind of attire has not been anywhere near invented yet. And it's like, I get that you have had a lot of loss in your life, but you are not listening to Jonah or Catherine or anyone else when they tell you the stakes that you are putting them in. If you screw with time too badly, you could erase everything. And they try to tell her that multiple times, and she's just not listening because she is that selfish. And come to find out, after all the shenanigans and trying to keep her grandfather with his tracer version because they weren't supposed to save him, the Indian boys that were there were supposed to save him, it's all confusing, and I don't like Andrea one bit because of how selfish she is and uncaring about anybody else around her. She doesn't care about anybody but herself, and in the end, she acts like she does, but honestly, I think she only took Jonah and Catherine out of that situation and back into the time stream because she didn't want them there and because she wanted to stay there. I don't for one second believe that she did it for unselfish reasons, because the only thing she thought about the entire time was how she was going to keep her grandfather with his tracer and how she was going to get to see him. Well, come to find out, the finale, which was incredibly boring because it was just a lot of talking, second turns out to be the projectionist that was working for JB to show him all the different outcomes of time. And it turns out he doesn't really care about the time stream, and because he is bored, he's going to try to destroy all of history, probably making it so Hitler doesn't start World War II, or they don't come to America, or whatnot. He got bored one day and decided, screw time, screw its rules, screw everyone in it. I'm bored, I want to make some chaos. And I thought the finale for this was going to be a bit exciting, but it was just a lot of talking, and then most of the action scene happened off screen. Like, JB ends up getting knocked out by Sam, aka Second, and Jonah and Catherine are left hurtling towards an uncertain time and are uncertain what their mission is because they don't have JB to tell them that, and they weren't supposed to be transported to the next time anyway. It's all chaotic because one guy was bored and he knew how to take advantage of a girl that had lost so many people in her life, and he used that advantage well. And I think, in a way, Sam, aka Second, is a bit, I don't want to say cartoonish, but a bit overdone as a villain. He's always making these predictions that make him a good projectionist, so he says. And he's like, oh, I was 99% sure you were going to say that. Or, oh, I programmed the elucidator to have replies for so many different outcomes because I saw them all. Or, I predicted you were going to say this or this. He's constantly cocky and constantly throwing prediction numbers in our faces because he thinks he's always right. And a bored man who's always right is never a good combination because now he's screwing with time for the hell of it, and we are left not knowing what is going to happen to Jonah and Catherine. Did I enjoy this one? Yes, I did. Did I like Andrea, aka what's her name? No, not really. She was a spoiled little brat who cared about nothing but herself and trying to keep her grandfather, who she didn't even properly know, with her. And that put the characters in danger in more than one time. So, I did not like her one bit. I thought the villain was a little bit cheesy at the end, and other than that, I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the mystery of why were there so many tracers. Once again, the writing is really well done, and it's really enjoyable despite it being a book for kids. I don't really care for the cover because it makes you think that Andrea's gonna have to fight or hunt, and that never happens. And I'll throw the real version of the cover up on the screen. Honestly, I don't get what this cover has to do with anything that happened in the story, but I feel like it's a little more creative than just this that once again looks like all of the other ones with just a different colored background and a different picture in the glowing light. But I cannot wait to get into book 4 of the series. This marks the halfway point once I'm finished with it, and I'm really excited to get into it because I really want to know what happens with Jonah and Catherine, and I'm wondering if Chip's ever going to come into the picture again or if his story is done and over with. And honestly, with time so screwed up, I'm wondering how they're going to return the other children to history and see how they're going to fix it. So I'm excited. I'm probably going to start this as soon as I finish this video. I already have my bookmark in it ready to go. So I just bumped my mouse and my computer's turning on. Anyway, I hope to see you guys next time, and I hope you guys enjoy. Bye, guys.